Hi.
Hello.
All right, so nothing really going on. No big news. No, that's it.
Um,
That's
it,
fine.
it is mid June, and pretty much the whole month of June has been a lot in media and what's going on
Mm-hmm.
in the world. Um, it's a lot to process, it's a lot to think about.
It absolutely is. I mean, with protesting and no, 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 police brutality going on, it has been a crazy, crazy month.
Plus COVID 19.
Oh yeah, is that still going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so in all of that, I want to say this real quick. Today is our anniversary. So happy anniversary. Um, but anyway, it has been a crazy, crazy month.
Um, and I don't think this is going away anytime soon. I don't think it should go away until the problems are fixed. So,
Mhm. Um, I agree with you definitely.
yeah, I I've definitely been very. It's been a very eye-opening thing to see everything that's been going on. Um, I have some really great outspoken friends that have really brought to light a lot of things that were going on that I didn't realize. So I appreciate that and the opportunity to learn.
Mhm.
And like I learned today, right before we did this, that Juneteenth, which is tomorrow, actually goes through the weekend, which I did not know previously. So
I
learned
should
something
explain that.
today.
That's my. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I learned something today, so that's cool.
Hmm.
Um, Learning lots of new things, and I think that's awesome. Um, and while I haven't been super outspoken on social media or anything, I make my best efforts to live my life where hopefully my black friends know that I value theirs. And if they don't, then I need to fix that. Um, but Black Lives Matter, yeah, you
Right.
didn't say that on.
You officially make that statement.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's a very definite possibility. What am I even saying? No, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree that Black Lives Matter, and there is no but to that.
There's no but to
There's
that.
no but to that.
And there is a problem with police brutality in this country, and I would say among all people, because honestly, the police are there to serve and protect, and I don't think brutality has a place in that. Protecting yourself, sure, but not brutality. And so
And
it's
one of the things that I remember going through, I used to be a security guard, and you go through this weird training, and I went with this really like hardcore warrior mentality, former cop, and he expressed that at the time that police officers aren't there to protect you. That is not their job, and that a police officer's job is to uphold the law, and that is it. Now, if someone is beating you, then the person beating you is committing a crime, and therefore pull you off, and that protection comes because the law protects you.
So there's still no place for what's been going on.
Oh, absolutely no, absolutely not. There is no place in the law that says this is okay. Um, I think we have turned a blind eye to it for so long that it doesn't seem that, oh well, I guess it just happens. But that's the absolute wrong mentality. I apologize because that was my mentality for a while. Was it just happens, and before I kind of sat down and started learning and hearing other people talk and being like, okay, this is a big deal. One thing that we talked about, because you grew up, halfway across the country, and I grew up here. Growing up, like police shootings and people who were killed by the police, it was a rare occurrence. I mean, like really low occurrence. I mean, you would hear about it on the news maybe once or twice a year, and I think a lot of that has to do with today everyone has a camera. This is everyone has a phone, everyone has a camera. This is filmed on a phone, so everyone has one. So those things come out more.
Yes.
And at the same time, I have to step back and go, what else has changed? And there have been policies and stuff put in place, almost 20 years ago now that I think we're reaping the I don't want to say fruits because these are spoiled effects of those bills. I think the hire fest of just hiring people to be police officers in droves. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think that's a good way to go about this.
And at the same point, I think a lot more have been put on police officers that aren't necessarily their jobs. And I think that has taken a mental toll as well. And it's not an excuse for anything that's gone on. Please don't misunderstand me. It's absolutely not an excuse for the way a lot of these officers have acted and what they have done.
Right.
But when, stuff came up of defund the police, I think that, police officers don't need to be handling every single thing that's going on. There are people that have training in areas to come in and assist and do those things. And I think that would definitely help because then police officers aren't having to deal with as much stuff. And to honestly be able to have better training in what they do. I'm very big on de-escalation and not getting to the point of having to draw weapons. So, and again, I'm not a police officer, and I have friends who are, and I do want to sit down and have those conversations about what the trainings are like, because I honestly don't know, and I'm not trying to make assumptions or anything of that nature, but I think de-escalation trainings would be huge, and a push for de-escalation, a push to not have to draw your weapon, a push for those things would be awesome.
Right. One of the things, and if I'm wrong, please in the comments say, no, that's not right. But here, we live in Oklahoma City. Here, from what I understand, the de-escalation talk is like half a day. It's like, how to deal with different kinds of people, and de-escalation all kind of covered in one day, and that's it.
Which I think is ironic because as SPED teachers, we go through a 3-day de-escalation training every year.
Every year. I mean, it is every single year.
So, and that's as teachers who don't even have to deal with this as much as the police do. And we have to go through a 3-day training every year.
And that's all day long. That's
3 full days.
So 3 full days, so it's 8 hours a day. So that's, 3 times 8 is...
Let's be honest, all my special ed friends, it's 2.5 days.
It's 2.5 days because the last day is showing them what you know about the restraint holds that you can use.
And then we get a long lunch.
You get a long lunch, and that's nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. It's something that's part of our yearly trainings for SPED, and yet the police officers have to deal with things that we don't have to deal with. And if they're really just getting a half day, that is absolutely ridiculous.
Right. And again, that is rumor mill, not like I know for certain. They could get more, absolutely. That is just what I have heard through people talking. Who I've heard police officers talking. This is what they get. That could have changed. That could have actually changed from when they were there to what's going on now.
I think they need at least a week, if not two,
Oh, yeah.
on just de-escalation, going through scenarios, going through different things that, and then I think also, and I think I've mentioned this in a video before, one of the trainings the district implemented this past school year, as crazy as this past school year was a implicit bias training. And I've been pretty vocal about how I feel about a lot of the Safe Schools training. I think they're very redundant. And I think mostly just because I've done them every year,
Right.
and they become redundant. This is one of the best trainings I think the district has ever put out there.
It is very
It is a really, really good training. And I think that would be also a great thing for our police officers to have, because what the training talks about is everyone has biases. You could be the most non-racist, love everyone person, but everyone has a bias towards something, whether it be just what you were taught, that even though you don't necessarily believe it, is kind of stuck around, or what you've experienced in culture, what you've experienced in the world. We all have biases towards different things. And so being aware does not make you a bad having biases doesn't make you a bad person. It means that it's something that you can be aware of to make sure that those biases don't turn into other actions. And it was an amazing training. It wasn't super long. It was, I think, like an hour and a half or something like that, which is long for a Safe Schools training, but in the scheme of things is not actually that much time.
It was
And it was really good. And I think we all need to be aware of what our biases are, whether it be, again, just what you grew up with, how you were raised, what your family believes that was passed down, whatever. And then you can start working on changing those biases, whatever they may be.
right. I mean, over this last month, Lori and I have sat down and really talked about growing up, and this is how I grew up, and this is what I was taught, and it's amazing the differences. And like, I'll be honest, I was taught that police officers don't necessarily have your best interest. They're good when they're needed, but generally they're not. Don't tell them everything. That's kind of where I was with a lot of it.
And I was taught to respect the police, and that police officers were good, and you thank your police officers for the duty that they do, which is something that I've tried to instill in Hadassah. And if we see a police officer out at a restaurant or something, I try to have her go over, or at least model going over and saying thank you for your service. And I know a lot of people don't like that, especially in the light of everything going on, but it was what I was raised to do. It was how I was raised.
Right. I want to go back to something, because you said defund the police, and that sentence, defund the police, is terribly scary for a lot of people. There are people who go, oh, no, we need police. And the thing is, no one is saying get rid. Well, there are people saying abolish the police. And I think they absolutely have some statements that need to be said and we need to listen to.
Yes.
The defund thing is simply saying, let's look at our city's budget and let's reallocate funds to better help the people, the citizens of this city. I can't talk.
And don't worry, as the running joke goes in the education circles, they've been defunding education for years. That's not, it doesn't mean abolish. So
right. As much as current governor really wants to abolish public education.
That's a different topic, honey.
Sorry.
Speaking of our current governor,
are we gonna talk about this?
We're gonna talk about this. You wanted to talk about this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if you caught on, we live in Oklahoma. we live in Oklahoma City, which is 120 miles.
It's actually 109 miles, but
to the outside to downtown is about 120.
Yeah.
So
our current I will help you. Our
Thank
current
you.
president is coming to Tulsa in 2 days. 2 days from making this video on Saturday the 20th. Excuse me. On Saturday the 20th, he is coming for his first big public gathering since COVID-19. I'm not happy. I mean, I really wish he would have picked somewhere else
anywhere
to
else.
come. However, he has the legal right to be here. Our governor has invited him.
Just a reason not to vote for him later.
We definitely have some concerns. One, it is a huge indoor gathering with COVID-19 cases going up. That's a lot of people to be in one spot. Very close quarters. There definitely won't be social distancing.
Over 19,000 people altogether, and apparently
That's if the arena fills the 19,000.
apparently they're saying now, yeah, there might be a few people who have coronavirus who go to the rally, but that's not really a big deal. I'm like, no, that's a huge deal because it spreads really quickly.
So again, if you are for whatever reason going to this rally, whether it's because you are a Trump supporter or because you want to be a part of history, which I do in some ways understand that perspective, that it is a huge historical event. It's his first rally since COVID-19. Whether it's for those reasons or you're going to be in Tulsa on Saturday, please be careful, y'all.
Yeah.
I don't, it's...
From someone who knows Tulsa and loves Tulsa, this weekend stay downtown. Just don't go there. It's beautiful and great, but avoid it. Next trip, go downtown.
Please be careful. Also, if you are going to go out and protest, either for or against this, please keep it peaceful. I mean, I know that's difficult. I mean, I know I do not like this president. I think that's been very clearly expressed. But violence in this capacity doesn't do anything but rile up his people that already want violence. So please, be...
There will be people there looking to get violent. And I'm not going to say that's going to be one side or the other. I think you can have those people on both sides. I lean one way, which I think where the violence will be, but I'm going to be,
I think it's very easy right now with all of the tensions going on for people to get riled up, and I think we need to be super careful to keep our cools and not... It's okay to get angry. It's okay to say, I don't like this.
Right.
All of those things are fine. But to not allow it to turn violent, because violence just begets violence, and then it becomes a big thing, and people get hurt, and people get arrested, and there's consequences that go with all of that. So, I know of a friend who is going to be in Tulsa. Just keep your cool. I know it's hard. I don't like him either, but keep your cool.
And drink water.
Drink water, wear sunscreen.
Get some good food, get some rest.
Yes.
I sound like a mother.
Well, I mean, and with politics, just honestly remember that the man isn't the brightest.
But he's a stable genius.
I can argue with either of those. I'm not sure he's stable or genius. But the last thing that I want is to hear one of my friends ending up in jail or getting hurt.
Or worse.
Or worse because of this. So please
Just
be careful. He will only be here a few days. He will go home. So,
goodness. I was honestly concerned for a little bit when like the Republican National Convention would be here. I'd be like, oh,
Oh,
goodness,
yeah.
there's going to be a madhouse of craziness because like there were sites coming up. The Tulsa, Oklahoma City, were a potential site for the Republican National Convention. I'm like,
That was terrifying.
no, oh no, please no, no. Thank goodness it's Jacksonville.
Florida. Yeah. No.
No, but anyway, what something fun we can talk about now?
Um, Apparently, Trump believes the Supreme Court doesn't like him.
Yes, because they've ruled against him. That is what we can talk about because that did affect us.
Yes.
Yeah, if you've been under a rock or just not paying attention, there's two things you can do there. The Supreme Court came out Monday and ruled on 3 different cases on different things Trump had wanted to do and had turned him down on every single one of them, I think.
Yes.
It was LGBTQ, you cannot fire them for for being LGBTQ.
Which is super awesome. That is amazing. And it was 6-3, which is also super amazing.
Which meant we had 2 conservative justices come over and go, nope.
Which, thank you for doing the right thing.
Yes, I can't. Robert sealed it. Robert was the deciding vote. We thought he would go one way or the other, and we didn't expect Gorsuch to go that way.
Thank you.
So, wow.
It means it's a relief to know that. I mean, Oklahoma City. I have to brag on my district for all of their faults. Oklahoma City has had a non-discrimination policy for quite a while.
For about 4 years.
Mm-hmm. And even before their non-discrimination policy, they really have been very good about the LGBTQ.
Oh, yeah.
Even prior to that, when I started working for the district in 2006, the principal that I had was LGBTQ, and very good, so it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been a good place to work, and they've been fairly, straightforward. Sometimes they get a little confused, and you have to kind of straighten them out. But that's part of education, in all different facets.
And then today, DACA was upheld.
Sanctuary Cities was upheld.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one. I cannot remember what it was.
I cannot remember, but yeah, there's been a lot of really good news there. There was also bad news. Again,
right, last Friday.
Yes.
The Health and HHS, Health and Human Health Board, or whatever it's called, finalized a rule that will take effect in August that lets insurances discriminate against LGBTQ people.
Well, insurances, doctors, anyone in the medical field. Which, again, I'm going to say this. If you are a doctor and or in the health field at all, and you take a Hippocratic oath, that should supersede any law. Just saying.
Well, I mean, it's your oath to. It's not a law. You can treat. If you're taking that oath though, and you're going to say, "Well, I'll treat these people," you're kind of not taking the oath fully. In our opinion,
right?
I mean, you could view it differently. You could be wrong.
So just people are people. It's. I am very much against discrimination in any form. So I've never really understood discrimination, and I will tell you guys on kind of a funny, kind of a serious note, we sat down and had a conversation with our daughter, who is 7, almost 8, about what's going on in the world. And she asked some very poignant questions from a youth perspective, and one of them is, why do people do this? As a parent, I can't answer that. because as an adult, I don't understand why people do this. I don't understand why people treat each other the way they do. So
Mhm.
I can't explain it to my child.
Right. It's um, yeah. Friday was the talk that night was a really good talk, and it allowed us to talk to our daughter.
Actually, it was Tuesday
Was it
night
Tuesday
that we
night?
did it. Yeah, this is after Sean left.
But it was a really good talk. That was last week when we lost
Yeah.
power.
Yeah.
Because we lost power in the middle of the talk. We had to go to bed.
No, we lost power in the middle of the talk, and we finished our talk by candlelight. But for anyone that knows our kid, knows she's super inquisitive and asks super good questions, and she really wanted to learn. Um, I know we need to wrap this video up, but I do want to give a couple recommendations before we go. If
Okay.
you wanted to learn stuff about this, I'm going to be all cheesy, 80s kid, whatever. But I showed Hadassah yesterday a movie. If you have Disney Plus, it's on there. If not, you can probably look it up.
Okay, now I know where this is going. Okay.
It's called The Color of Friendship. It was put out in 2000. It was a Disney Channel original movie. For those of you that remember those, and it's very poignant to what's going on right now in the world. Its focus is on the apartheid, but it talks a lot about race relations and preconceptions and things like that. So if you have kiddos, probably, in 3rd to 6th, 7th grade, it's a really good way to go about that. It has a lot of great references that you as a parent can go off and talk about from. It mentions the book Roots by Alex Haley, which I've never read. I probably need to. I've seen the movies, but I've never read the book. It definitely should be on my list of books, but it uses that as a reference. There's a lot of really great stuff in it. And then just finding stuff. And I guess my thing always goes back towards kids welcome to being an educator. I mean, just whatever works in your house to educate your kids about what's going on. I think that is so important that kids understand what's going on, because it's those kids, that next generation that's coming up, that can be the first generation, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, to not have to deal with the problems that we've had to deal with.
Right, and kind of what we've been talking about is this is the possibility that we can fix these wrongs that have been going on for so long. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, way too long. They should have never started to begin with, but
Right, but in a way, I go, this is part of the course. When you have humans make a system, there's going to be flaws, and the thing is, future generations, their job is to work out those flaws and make it a more perfect union.
system. More perfect system,
More perfect union. I was using the
Yeah.
line from. Yeah. But I think for me, one thing that I want to say, and because there are people out there who really like to go back to the founding fathers. The founding fathers said this, and I understand what the founding fathers said. They said lots of really great things. Also, I have to keep in mind they were slaveholders, and they had a different view of humanity than I do. At the same time, I want to point people to Thomas Jefferson, even though I think he was kind of a butthole. Oh, he wasn't kind of. He was a butthole. He made a statement, and it is on the wall at the Jefferson Memorial. If you go into, I can't remember what side it's on, but he talks about. It's actually pretty much laying out the slavery he understands it is wrong. It is wrong to this, and that it will eventually be done away with. But he talks about our nation as being young at the time, and restraining us to this is what we have to adhere to, and not growing as a country and growing our understandings is like having a grown man try to put on the jacket he was when he was a boy. And I think a lot is happening right now. We're like, oh, but this has always been fine. And it hasn't always
It's
been fine.
It's never been fine.
You know, it worked for the founding fathers because they didn't really care. They didn't view, people of color as actually people. They were property. That's a major focus shift. And by us going, oh, well, these laws work then, yeah, they work then because of the way others were viewed. And that's not right. And we should absolutely working to change those. And we've made progress slowly. Oh, so very slowly. And
again, I want to understand and put this out here that I understand this is coming from a place of privilege, and
Absolutely.
and I, and I've said this on a Facebook post, and I'll say it here. I didn't get to choose what color my skin was, but I have the advantage because of the color my skin is, and so I want to do everything I can to help those who don't have those same advantages. And I'm not perfect at it, and Lord knows I make mistakes, and but I'm trying. I'm human. I'm flawed. I don't always know what to do or what to say,
it's the
and
big,
I'm learning. I'm learning so much. And I do want to personally shout out to my friend Kesh, because her posts have been so insightful for me to learn. And when she posts, I feel like, and other people may have a different interpretation, it's always with the point of, yeah, I'm angry about this, but I want to educate you on this. And it always, to me, comes from that perspective. And I so appreciate that as a white person who's trying to learn something that I've never really been educated about. And so that's what I wanted to say there. So,
okay. So I think we have gone long,
yeah.
longer than normal. But this has been a really big issue. These are really big issues. This is really trying times. And it's really, I think in some ways, it's scary, and I get that. But I think it's time, like I told our daughter, it's time to sit down and have those hard conversations. And to gain new understanding and to make this country a better place. So, and that involves not voting for Trump. Just going to throw that last bit out there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Political.
Thank you.
It's having the conversations that make you cry. It's having the conversations that make you angry. It's having the conversations that are uncomfortable,
Right.
that are not easy, where you have to use a school term, put your listening ears on and really listen. Don't be sitting there trying to form your rebuttal against the person while you're listening, which I'm horrible about, by the way, in debates, and I'm really working on that. But really having your listening ears on and listening